Okay, the last point of the show is mine, of course. So my ugly point, I'm going to bring us all the way back to the beginning, because obviously Fnatic, to me, was one of the dominating themes of the week. 1 second before that series began, I can tell you right now, mate, everyone on Fnatic, the whole social media, the coach, the fucking pros, they all had what their straight fire banter was going to be after the game when they 2-0'd and beat G2. It was going to be some shit like Mickey X, like, oh, I guess that upgrade didn't, like some shit like that. Fucking Upset was probably going to be like, oh, I thought I was a KDA player. Oh, look at my KDA in this shit. Whatever. Grabs would be like, oh, I'm back, baby, I'm back. I actually can do drafts. Like, it's not me fucking this shit up. But then problem is, if you watch the way the series went, if you ask me, I always say, I'll give everyone the status. The last few years, if you ask me who the best player in the LEC is, it probably is the boring answer. It's probably Caps. Like, he almost never had a bad game. He couldn't even fight you out of games that were bad. If he ever got a lead, but the last couple of years, he was way better than he was, I think, even in the old G2s and Fnatic. He could just close every game. But the second best player, I've always said the last year or two, is Razork. I think that guy, when he's on his shit, like, because here's the problem, he's doing everything as a jungler. He'd do the early game pathing, he'd get ahead, he'd get some ganks off, he'd get fed himself on his right champions, he'd carry a team fight, and then here's what would happen when they didn't have Mickey X. He would then have a game, especially against G2, sadly, every fucking time, where it's like he just fucking, it's like the joke is that thing where you see, if you're in NA and you see Bjergsen, or if you're playing in the Worlds and you see Faker, you're like, I must go in and kill him, it's Faker or Bjergsen, and then you just go in and hit the kill, like, what are you doing? So the problem I have is this guy seems to me like someone where they're still putting all the burden on his shoulders. He looks like he has to do everything in the game, mate. And the worst thing is, at the end, if he then does the fuck up, and he did some mad fuck ups in this series, if he does that, he's also not the guy, by the way. One of the things, I'll give you a quick sidebar, that I've always mega respected when I found out from coaches and players about the old NA jungler, Smithy, is, bro, this might be the greatest jungler I've ever seen from behind in a game. He'd be behind on a champion that can't even get ahead at that point. And he'd just somehow, like, stay in the game. He'd have the poise to know, like, how do you grind back in? He'd even do the classic thing that solo queue players should learn, which is, my game's over. Can I just do one useful thing in the game that lets, like, my carry win the fucking fight? Crazy thought, I know, some of the people out there in the world. So the problem is, Razork looks like he takes every fuck up and every loss so to heart. It just destroys him, bro. I've never seen anyone who's so good just get so mentally destroyed from a loss. So I feel like in their team, if I'm Grabs, if I'm the rest of them, bro, can we just lift some of the burden? Can he just be a jungler instead of just having to be like the win condition all the times? Because it could also turn into then he's the loss condition. And I think actually he's also the worst one ever, because the second he loses, it's like, right, time for his apology tour on social media. Like, fucking hell, you don't have to apologize. You owe these fuckers nothing. They're just watching you play with my gold level knowledge going, why did he go in? Because you died. If you'd have gone in and got the fucking knock up and killed the guy, they'd go, it's genius, look what he's doing. So I think my ugly point, it's not bad, it's not good, because I do think he's mega right, but it feels like he's the jungler that has the most burden on his shoulders of any in the league to me. Thoughts, leader?
I think the one thing I disagree with you is that Caps is the best player. I actually think Razork is the best player in the LEC right now. Yeah, I think he's really, really insanely playing good on his champions. He finds engages that are actually good. And I think the only reason why the last series didn't work out was because he was sold in draft. It was sold in both drafts. And because of that, it can just, as a player, you will feel like you had a bad day or something. But sometimes it just feels unplayable, or like you want to play your champion how it's supposed to be played. But it's like, usually this works out because the follow-up, for example, when you're playing Vi is there, but you don't have follow-up when you're playing Vi this time. Or when you're playing Skarner, you can front to back, but you don't have any DPS or front to back damage. So you feel like you need to go in and like make something happen, or like dive in as Skarner, or like try to win the game in the way that you think, and you might end up looking like an Inter. And that is like a good quality to have for each player. But I think like Razork is so insanely good in all stages of the game that you need to like not sell him in draft. Like you cannot sell him in draft like this. You cannot first pick him a champion and then you just completely like draft away from the strength of the first pick champion. And that's why he just looked bad. I don't think he should be making any apologies, but that's just how the league scene honestly is. Like you cannot like really say like, sure, I messed up, but to be fair, the draft is very, very unplayable for me against them. And why do I have a Mel when I'm playing Vi? And why do I have an Ambessa and Ari when I'm playing Skarner? Like what is going on in this draft? You can't say this, you know. But the majority of the people that are watching don't know this, you know. Like, obviously, as a pro player, no matter what kind of situation you're put in, you should be playing the most optimal way, like in the end, right? But it's either you lose slowly because you feel like you're going to lose slowly because your comp is like so bad and you have not been able to do something, and you're getting impatient and more impatient because nothing is working out, and you feel like you have to do this and it doesn't work out, and if it did, you're like the greatest player alive, or like, wow, he made such a clutch play, or it just doesn't work out and you just lose faster than you're supposed to lose.
So I actually agree with Leader. I think we covered Fnatic a bit earlier, but the ugly point I would put on this is that there's the expectation that somebody has to come and do it, because you know, like, Fnatic are a big team, so there's a lot of criticism when they lose, and they have a fan base that turns on their team quite aggressively, right? And Razork, I think, is the only one on that team who is without reproach, right? Like, imagine if Humanoid is the one writing an apology letter like this, even when it's not his fault, right? Like, or you have Upset writing it, or you have Oscar, you know, saying, "Oh, you know, my bad." It's different, right? And to me, the thing which is frustrating is that Razork takes a lot of blame, like you guys have said, for things that aren't on him. And I don't mean for Draft, because Draft could be on him, right? Like, he's the one, maybe he thinks that Mel Vi is fine, right? Like, we don't know that. But what I do know is that sometimes he gets his team a 2k lead or 3k lead or something like this, and that's sometimes all you can do as a jungler, you know, and that he's done his job, right? But people will always expect more, and, you know, as a jungler, you get less resources than other people, right? So you're eventually going to fall off, and it becomes the responsibility of your team. You can, like, you know, be the one who brings the ducklings to water, but you can't force them to, like, not sink, right? So
yes.
So yeah. So I think that's what I would say on Razork. I do think, yeah, like, there's a game in theory, assuming Koi don't throw anything, or Fnatic don't lose to BDS or Vitality. There is in theory a Koi Fnatic matchup in next week, which should be really, really, yeah, if they win the... No, it's a week after. In the future, which should be a banger, and we'll see. It will be the first time we see Fnatic play, because since the playoffs, and I'll be honest, I've learned literally nothing about Fnatic from the last weekend, because I didn't learn anything from the G2 series, and the Heretic series went exactly as you would expect, right? So I don't even know if this team is a good playoff team. Maybe this team is like a choking playoff team. I mean, I look at the players and I don't think they should, but we don't know that, right? Like, so let's go and see. This is the first hardship they faced as a team, so interested to see how they respond.
By the way, I'm with Leader as well. If I have this guy, mate, I'm deciding most of my drafts around him. I'm giving him the first pick, and then we're just making the draft around what makes this guy fucking cracked. Because I also agree with what he said earlier. I think it ties into what you were talking about with Inting, Leader, which is all the fan ever sees is essentially the equivalent in football of the losing goal. And then they just go, "Oh, that defender fucked up." And it's like, no, maybe like the work rate of the midfielder, just let them go past, or you took a really hasty shot when your defense wasn't back or something. The question is, how did you get into the position where someone did one mistake that lost the game? So, spoiler, if you're a jungler, every solo queue player knows this. It's always your fault that you did the wrong fucking last dive and last gank and the one that didn't work, etc. So no, I think it's it. But the worst thing about it is this. I can only speculate from what I've seen in interviews on social media. But the one area I don't fuck with Razork is his personality. It's like, mate, you should have some Calist of like Jojo Pion level swag where it's like, I'm the best or whatever. Like, here's what he needs. He needs like a fucking attitude transfusion from El Yoya, because mate, El Yoya thinks he is fucking Canyon or something. He said, "What are you talking about? Give me the game, give me first pick, give me control on me. It was you who fucked up when I went in. Why didn't you come in with me? I want that shit from him, mate." Now look, don't get me wrong, he's not going to be used to it. When it fucking comes through that, like, comes through the IV, he's going to go, "Oh, it burns, Mr. Thorin." I'm going to go, "That's the fucking Bane Venom, son. That's what's going to make you strong." So embrace the toxicity. That's how we'll end the show, Peter. Embrace the toxicity. If you're a jungler, embrace the toxicity and fucking stop letting these mid laners tell you what to do in the game. You're the star of the show. It's all about you.
Sure.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.